Minister, your statement to us tonight in respect of the events of last week sets out that on two separate occasions last week you asked the Chair was there a formal approval role for the board, and on two occasions Shuna Rattling said quite clearly to you no. When the RT Chair corrected her version of these events last Thursday, did you feel you'd been lied to by the Chair?
And again, I'd say it was on 2 days, but it was, I would say, several occasions in those two meetings. As I just said to the Senator, again, putting on the record, the former Chair has done incredible work in...
But did she lie to you last week?
I don't believe it was intentional, but what we have is a situation where I now can't rely on accurate information.
But then do you feel that she purposely misled you on those occasions before correcting it?
I've never said that.
I know you didn't. Yeah, I'm just asking you in the context of just trying to understand it. Did you feel that you had been either lied to or purposely misled, given, as you said, you asked on numerous occasions very direct questions on a very direct exit package?
I do not believe it was intentional, but that does not, take away from the fact that in getting inaccurate information on several occasions, there's an issue there. Senator, how can I be in charge of the facts even if it's unintentional? Someone's not recollecting that they chaired the meeting that approved.
You cite in your statement here tonight that this was not the first time that the Chair had in fact failed to give you clear accounts of her work or the work of the board. What were the other occasions?
Well, on the very first occasion was in relation to a committee hearing where it was revealed that she had sought the resignation of Dee Forbes, and she rang me the next day to apologise because she forgot to tell me that she had sought the resignation of Dee Forbes. As I outlined to the Senator Warfield there, on the Monday there was a question about the knowledge of the Rory Coveney exit package, and did she in fact know that it wasn't a straightforward resignation and not tell me? And she admitted, yes, I did know and I should have told you and I'm sorry. Okay. And then that led on to the Monday and the two meetings on Wednesday. Okay.
So clearly in your mind, you had now been fed a series of inaccurate or misleading pieces of information. And given the fact that you've used such a line in your opening statement that this wasn't the first time you'd been given wrong information from Shuna Rattling, is it the case from your perspective that your blood was up going up to RT that night to do prime time, and you were going to show not just RTE but Shuna Rattling who was boss, and that's why you ended up throwing her under the bus on television last Thursday night?
Certainly not, and anyone that knows me knows I'm not someone who would anger like that, would act like that.
Okay.
It's purely from knowing my responsibility in a crisis, that I need to be in full possession of all facts at all times.
Okay. So going back
learning that suddenly there is a recollection of something, even though the former Chair had been pressed on several occasions.
Okay, but given then the seriousness of that situation, you could have backed out of prime time. This is politics, and given that you'd sought a meeting with the Chair on the Friday morning, at which you knew you could have cleared the air, the meeting you said in your statement that you wish you had, did you plan, given that your statement that tonight shows you felt your relationship had completely broken down, did you plan to seek Shuna Rattling's resignation on your office on the Friday morning?
Absolutely not, but it did...
but it's clear that you came to the end of the road. You've said that. You'd reached the end of the road with your relationship with the Chair on the basis that you felt you couldn't trust her anymore.
I think you're putting words into my mouth. I didn't use that language. I said I wanted to meet her the next day, and I'd asked and I'd written to her to meet her the next day. And on prime time, I had, I suppose, an opportunity to correct the record since the press conference on Monday, where I said there was no board approval whatsoever. And I really believe if the focus of the last 8 months has been about we need the facts, we need transparency, we need openness. I have to show leadership on that too. What was the alternative for me to conceal the facts?
Did you or any of your political advisors discuss with the primetime team the issue of whether you had confidence in Siún, and to ask for that question to be planted in that discussion?
Well, as with any interview, there's always, I suppose you'd know yourself, Senator, you go through the topics. And as I pulled up to prime time, I did become aware that the news was about to break, that I had been given the incorrect information that day. And so it was flagged that I was willing to speak to the issue.
So your advisors had flagged to the research team or the presenters that you were willing to answer a question in respect of having confidence in
no,
the...
absolutely not.
That wasn't planted with the team, no?
No, not, no.
Last Monday night...
That an issue had emerged and I was willing to speak to it.
Last Monday night at 6:30 p.m, we all here received an email from Kevin Backhurst, the Director General, lovely picture of him there. And he told us about your meeting last Monday, and he described it, and quotes, as positive and constructive meeting, and that he highlighted to you, quote, RTE's commitment to transparency and the processes and procedures, end quote. Minister, the DG, he knew these processes and approvals, and he sat in that room with you last Monday and the chair, and obviously said nothing either. He said nada. Do you have confidence in the Director General, given that he sat in that room and said nothing on the role of the board of the exit packages process at that meeting last week?
As I've always said, my direct role is with the chair. And my questions, whenever I meet the two of them together, it's quite clear who I am directing the questions to.
But we are now at the centre of a storm of the national broadcaster, and this man has been brought in to clean it up. He sat in the room with you and the chair, and he said nothing in terms of your direct questions about the process that was involved for that exit package and whether the board was approved. How can you have confidence in the Director General and not in the chair?
Because I have confidence in the job of work that the Director General is
So you do have confidence in the Director General?
Yes.
You do have confidence in the Director General?
Yes, I've stated that before.
Okay. Minister, they were a team. They were a team. They closed, as evident in his statement last week, with the huge regard he had for Siún Rattling. But if Siún Rattling misled you in that room last week, which is clear we've extrapolated here that she did as far as you're concerned, then so did Kevin Backhurst. You summoned them last Monday to discuss the process involved in the exit package for the top executives such as Richard Collins. And if you were misled by the chair, you were misled by the Director General, and how can you tonight express confidence in him given that he was complicit as well?
Because the direct line of communication between a Minister for Media and RTE is the chair of the board.
Minister, that's amazing.
The chair provided me with inaccurate information.
And he sat in the room. He sat in the room and listened to that inaccurate information be given to you. He sat there and knowingly sat there and let that misinformation be given to you. Either that or nobody knows what's going on in RTE whatsoever.
I think the DG's role is very distinct. And again, I'm saying my role or my connection is with the chair of the board.
That's an amazing.
That's who I've responsibility
That's an amazing admission that you have two of the most senior. Why bother summon him at all? Was he there to make the tea? That is amazing. And it's not consistent to say that you have confidence in him and no confidence in the chair because your relationship was with the chair and he's actually running the ship. He's the paid executive on hundreds of thousands of euro to run the ship. And you say that you have confidence in him while he sat there and allowed the misinformation be spoken to you.
But the issue being addressed, the issue that emerged was in the role of the chair, and it's for the chair to
That's amazing.
To clarify
Either
that.
they should both be gone or they should both be in their jobs. Was this personal against the chair, Minister, because you felt she'd misled you too many times and this was the end of the road?
No, absolutely not, and I think you've asked that in a number of different ways. I would have had a lot of respect and a good working relationship with the former chair. But unfortunately, even though I had that good relationship, it emerged that I just could not, as a minister, depend on accurate information.
I cannot believe, Minister, that you can differentiate that two people sat in the room, two people were complicit in the same misinformation being given to you, but you can have confidence in one and no confidence in the other. That doesn't tally whatsoever. Minister, you say that you have not received any formal correspondence relating to the role of the board in the exit package, but obviously the Business Post detailed on Sunday that your three senior officials, Catherine Lick and Trina Quill and Stephen Ryan, were informed of the PAC on October 12th in terms of reference on the board's remuneration. Did nobody inform you of the situation as that emerged?
I read that report and I think it was said that they were explicitly told. My reading of what transpired at that PAC meeting was that Ms Mullooly had outlined the changes which would apply in the future. Indeed, the language she used was, it will now present a report, it will now report to the board. And again, at this point, we were aware that Mr Collins had left RTE, and there was no reason to believe anything other than the DG had made that decision without board approval.
And in respect,
formal communication.
On this one, sorry, Chair, on the report that Siún O'Reilly called Ms Licken on October the 10th and told that there had been an agreement with Richard Collins, and you've said that Ms Licken has no recollection of being told that the package was, in quotes, approved. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. That just because she said she's no recollection doesn't mean it didn't happen. Have you checked again with Ms Licken as to whether her recollection has changed this week, similar to the way that Ms O'Reilly's memory changed last Thursday?
Word, Minister, yes or no?
I checked with the Secretary General, on the Thursday and the Friday.
And her recollection is still that she has no memory of being told that it was agreed?
That it received board approval. She had been told that the independent mediation process had concluded,
okay,
but not board approval.
Thank you very much. Moving